because we are going through a time in our history that will be remembered 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now as the time when Americans decided to be free or not. Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, I haven't done a video on this because it's everywhere. Almost everywhere you look, if you want to find it, you're going to see what other countries are doing to their citizenry, the measures that they're taking that are, I wouldn't even say borderline tyrannical, but tyrannical indeed. The measures that they are taking on their citizens are tyrannical, making them do things that they don't want to do just because the citizenry doesn't want to put something in their body that their government is telling them that they have to do. Now, if you're a lover of freedom, then stay tuned, because I'm going to go ahead and talk to you a little bit about some things that you can do in case it comes to this country here in the United States, or if it comes to a country that you live in, if it's not there already. Now, if you're not a lover of freedom, if you just go along to get along and you're willing to do anything that a government, those who are supposed to be working for you, will tell you to do, then have a good day and God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're still here and you are a lover of freedom, what you have to do is what I've been preaching and what many other channels have been preaching for years, is to get as prepared as possible, to depend as little as possible on those infrastructures that you currently depend on. Have a backup for those things that you know you depend on today. And this is very simple. Make a list of the things that you depend on. Do you depend on gasoline to put in your vehicle? Then have some backup for gasoline. Do you depend on water flowing out of your tap? Then have some backups for water. Do you depend on supermarkets to get your food? Then you should have a pantry that is a deep pantry, meaning that has enough food for you and your family to survive, just like you survive today, but for an extended period of time. I don't tell anyone how long they should be prepared for, but if you have enough food for a month, that is probably better than 95% of the population in the United States. I would venture to guess that most people in the United States don't even have a month's supply of food in their pantry. Now ask yourselves, wouldn't it be nice if you don't want to put something in your body that some kind of a government entity is telling you you have to, or else you can't go to the supermarket if you don't show your papers? Wouldn't it be nice if you had 6 months or a year's supply of food put away? That way you can say, hey, listen, I don't need to be here. I don't need to work here. I have enough sustenance. I have enough preps put away that I can take my time to look for another job. Instead of having to bend to the will of someone who doesn't care about you. These people don't care about you. These corporations, the pharmaceutical corporations, they don't care about you, ladies and gentlemen. I remember before this administration took over, and this is not about political parties, right? Because they're all at fault. But I remember that they were talking about, we are going to cure cancer. Ladies and gentlemen, that's never been brought up again. Why? Because it's just a talking point to allow your emotions to do your voting for you. These are just talking points. They never mean what they tell us. They lie to us every day. But wouldn't it be nice that you had free will? And what do I mean by that? Ladies and gentlemen, get out of the system as much as you can. It will allow you to have free will, meaning that you wouldn't have to depend on anyone else. I know that it's easy for some people to say, get out of the system. Just tell them no and quit your job. I know that's an easy thing to say. Some people, because of the system by which we are governed, are not able to do that because they live paycheck to paycheck. But if that's you, ladies and gentlemen, you can start to work to get out of the system. You can start to work to make yourself ready to get out of the system when it really counts. If you do it little by little, slow and steady wins the race, ladies and gentlemen. Because there will come a point where all Americans, all, are mandated to do something they don't want to do. And it is going to be up to those that prepared. It is going to be up to those that prepared to say no. And when they tell you, well, you can't keep your job, and 80 million Americans quit their job, they're going to think twice. And in order for them not to own you, you have to not need them. Have what you need to get by for a long period of time. Not only is it smart for everyday life, but we are living in interesting times, ladies and gentlemen. We are living in a time where we are about to switch over to a new paradigm. And whether that new paradigm is a good one for humanity or a bad one, I believe it is now that it will be decided. It will be decided by those people that are willing to resist and that are willing to say, no, this is my body, this is my life. You cannot tell me what to do. And if you want to take away my paycheck, then guess what? I'm prepared to do that. Why? Because I did something that my forefathers did. And it is, I prepared. You see, 100 years ago, 120 years ago, the word prepper, the word prepared, it wasn't really a word that was used much. Because that was how our forefathers, how our grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents lived. They had to live a life of preparedness. Because if they didn't and their harvest failed, where were they going to eat? They needed to put away food because they knew if they had one bad storm or one bad infestation that they would have no food for that coming year. So they were always prepared. They always knew how to mend their own clothes, how to mend their own shoes, how to fix their own farm equipment. Pick one skill that you are good at and become really, really good at it. And then pick several small skills that maybe you're not an expert on, but at least get comfortable with doing those things. Because ladies and gentlemen, like I said, we live in interesting times. And the people that are in place, that are governing us, and just take a look and see what government really means when you break down those words. When you break down that word. Look at what it really means. Those people that are in place, ladies and gentlemen, in our government, I would say that most of them, I won't say all of them, because I believe that there are a few patriots within our government. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. All they care about is themselves and keeping themselves in power. It's why the job of a politician is to get reelected. Like I said, I'm not saying all of them, but most of them. Why is it that most politicians are millionaire? Why is that? I believe that the average middle class, if I remember these numbers, the average middle class net worth in the United States is like $94,000. Meaning that if you take all of their debts and you take all of their assets and you add them up, they come up with a positive of $94,000. Whereas the average net worth of a congressman or a senator is like $2.5 million. Why is it that people that are put in place to supposedly be our servants have a net worth that is more than 25 times that of the average middle class American? And I'm sure it's the same in every other country, ladies and gentlemen. Have you ever seen a nation that has fallen because of their currency being debased, like Zimbabwe, Argentina, Venezuela? Have you ever seen those nations' leaders hungry? Have you ever seen them in need of anything? No, ladies and gentlemen, it is always the people that suffer. It is always the people that they were supposed to put in place to protect that do the suffering. I heard a quote a long time ago, and it went something like this: wars happen when politicians fail at their jobs. Well, it's more than wars, ladies and gentlemen. Suffering happens. War brings nothing but sorrow. And we have learned here in the last several years, I would say several decades, that money printing brings nothing but sorrow as well. And politicians that care not about you bring nothing but sorrow. So ladies and gentlemen, do yourselves a favor. Take action today. If you are not a prepper, and yes, call yourself a prepper with pride, because it means that you care about your family. It means that you care about those that you are in charge with protecting and taking care of. I remember seeing this on a video a while back, but I'll say it again because it's true. When my first child was born, when Victor was born, I told myself that my life did not belong to me anymore. That my life belonged to my family. And that my life now had a new meaning. And that meaning was that I would protect my family against anything, and that I would make sure that my family always has what they need in order to flourish. Not just merely survive, but to flourish in life. But ladies and gentlemen, there's only so much that we can do when we have a tyrannical government trying to take over every aspect of our lives. In my opinion, the only way that we can beat them at their own game is by being prepared. And when they say do this and you don't want to do this, you can decide for yourselves whether you will or won't. It is your free will. I am all for freedom. If you decide to do something that I personally wouldn't do, I would still stand up and say you should do it, because it is your decision to make. But when a government that was supposedly elected to look out for your well-being, and looking out for your well-being is pretty much looking out for your liberties, making sure that your liberties are not entramped on. When they themselves are trampling on your liberties and trying to make you do things that you don't want to do, then you have a choice. Will you do it or not? And in order for you not to do it, in order for you to practice your free will, then you have to be prepared. You can call it whatever you want. It's the word that I know. Be prepared. Get out of the system as much as you can. Get out of the banking system as much as you can. Make sure that you mimic, that you copy those infrastructures that you depend on. That way when they fail, and or you're not allowed to use them because you don't have your dog tags, that you are still able to take care of your families. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I'm going to go ahead and say for today. I hope that you have a great day. I just really felt compelled to put this out there, because we are going through a time in our history that will be remembered 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now as the time when Americans decided to be free or not. God bless you all.